Hi everybody, this is Joe with the Technology Closet. We're going to be talking about an introduction to the Mac OS X Mountain Lion desktop. Now you've probably seen on the technologycloset.com so far we've been strictly Windows 8, but we're going to be adding a new wrinkle to it. We're going to add OS X, and eventually we're going to try and add iOS devices, iPads, iPhones, and if we can do it, Android devices as well. Right now we're going to get started with an introduction to the Mac OS X Mountain Lion desktop. This is going to be more for the people who are switching over from Windows or another operating system and aren't familiar with all of the elements that make up the OS X desktop. So let's get started. The first thing you'll notice is that there's no start button as compared to Windows. What the OS has instead of a start button is the Apple button up here in what is the menu bar. Now you'll notice this menu bar has a file edit view similar to menu bars in applications in Windows. However, this menu bar is persistent in the operating system and is not specific in each application window as it is in Windows. It will dynamically change its options as you open up applications and they are in the foreground. The Apple button is where systems preferences are, dock preferences, and your sleep, restart, shutdown, and log out options are. You can also find out information about the Mac you're running with About This Mac. It will tell you the version, processor that you're using, memory that you have on your system, which startup disk you're using, and if you click more info, the overview comes up, which will give you a serial number, your software version, the graphics display that you're using. You can actually go through the display, gives you more information about the display, and you can jump directly to your display preferences from here. Storage, how much space is on your disk, what's using that space generally, whether it be audio or movies or photos, or in this case other, which is right now this is a bare system pretty much, so other is the operating system and its components. And your memory configuration. In this case I'm running this in a virtual machine, but right now I've allocated 3 gigabytes of RAM to this machine, so that's what it's showing. Okay, let's get out of this. And you'll notice that since I have no application windows in the foreground, I just have the desktop background, that the next menu item over in the menu bar is the Finder menu item. Now Finder is the equivalent of Windows Explorer, the file manager, if you will. It is how you would manually access all the files and directories on your system, and the documents that you have stored there. The icon at the bottom, and you'll notice it has it's very hard to see, but it has a glowing slash underneath it. That indicates that it is currently running. And since the Finder is basically the shell that you're running, the operating system, how the operating system is presenting itself to you, it's always running, just like Windows Explorer is always running on a Windows machine. So if we open this, it should come up with a new window, and again, the file, the edit, and the view, all of these menu items correspond to this Finder application now that it is in the foreground. In the Finder, you'll see, I'll just briefly go over some of the sidebar items. We'll go into Finder in more depth in a later video. All my files is basically collecting anything that's on your system file-wise, as far as PDF, documents, movies, pictures, and condensing them into one location that you can access them from. The next item down is applications. These are all the applications that are installed on your system. You can see some of them here: contacts, mail, You can actually access them all from here. That is actually absolutely what it's for. The next item down is the desktop, which would show any files or shortcuts that you have installed on your desktop. And then your documents. Now there's currently nothing in there right now, but we'll touch on that later. This is where the default save location is for all of your applications to store documents. Downloads is where you would store anything you downloaded from the internet, whether it be applications or PDFs. In the case I have a PDF here that I've downloaded on iMovie. Those all get stored by default in this location. Movies is exactly what it says when you're working with iMovie or some other movie manipulating application. That will by default store its files here. Same with music. Apple has a great application for dealing with music, and it's called iTunes. That is where iTunes would store the library files and all of the media, the media files that it uses. Pictures is the default location for your pictures. Under this shared section, this will show any other computers that are on your local network, whether they be Windows or Mac OS X, or even Linux if you have those, and if they have anything that is shared over the network that you can access, it will show up here. Now right now I'm not signed in and I'm not connected to anything, so I'm not able to see anything. Well, I have public shares here on this machine, administrator's public folder and Joseph Ferrante's public folder. That's my public folder. So there are some things that are shared, but we'll get into that again in another video. So that's the Finder as a quick overview. Let me go ahead and close the window. And one thing you'll notice, and I can demonstrate this more relevantly in another application. Let me try that. Let's go to the Safari, which is the web browser. And again, I'm accessing all of these applications from what is called the dock. This is just quick shortcuts to launching the applications that are docked here, for lack of a better term. The application executables actually reside in the applications folder that I showed you earlier, but you can dock those icons here for quick access. A lot of people used to put them on their desktop, shortcuts to applications in the Windows world, and that's good, but this actually serves a better purpose, because if you have application icons on your desktop and then you have Windows open that are obscuring those applications and you want to get to one of them, you have to move Windows out of the way and minimize things or close things just to get to the launch icon. Or in Windows you could use the start menu, but this is just a lot quicker, a little bit more efficient, I believe. So as you can see, I've opened up Safari, which is Apple's web browser that ships with OS X. And you see the menu items changed up here. We still have the Apple button, which it still does all the same things. But now we have this here changed from Finder to Safari. And this will show you all of the options that you have within the Safari application. You can install extensions, which we'll go over in another video. You can quit Safari. This is what I wanted to show you. On a Windows machine, the common way to close out an application is by clicking the red X. In Windows case, it's in the upper right hand corner. On the Mac, they put the buttons for the Windows in the left hand corner. These are correspondent to closing this window, X, minimizing this window, which will minimize it to the dock. I'll show you that real quickly, and it's a nice little animation that takes it to the dock, and you can re-access it this way. And the green button is minimize and maximize. So if I click it, it will minimize. If I click it again, it will maximize the size of the window for the display that I'm on. But what I wanted to show you was, if you close this window with the red X, watch what happens to the menu bar at top where it says Safari. Now I've closed the window. It's nowhere to be found. It didn't get minimized. But you'll notice Safari is still in the menu bar. And at the bottom, you'll notice, if it's tough to, might be tough to see, Safari still has a glowing dash under it, which means the application is still running. So on a Macintosh machine, on an OS X machine, you don't just quit out of the application by Xing it with the little red X. That just closes that window, that particular window. What you need to do is you can go to the menu for that application, in this case Safari, and you go to quit Safari, and that will actually close the application from running and release any memory resources that it's using, etc. You'll notice in the menu here we have this little weird little icon and the letter Q. Now that is called the command icon, and that is something specific to Apple computers and their keyboards. And if you got an Apple computer for Christmas or for a birthday or whatever, or just your first time using an Apple computer, and you bought the Apple branded keyboards, or it came with an Apple branded keyboard, you'll notice next to the space bar on both sides there is a key called command, and it has that clover leaf design, whatever they want to call it, icon. That's the command key. That is a shortcut key similar to, on a Windows machine, the Windows key. Everybody's seen the Windows key on the lower left-hand corner of the keyboard, right next to the space bar. It's in the Windows logo, and if you're used to it, you maybe remember you can use that as a keyboard shortcut key. You hold down that Windows key and various other keys on the keyboard to perform quick action operations. In this case, if you hold down the command key and hit the letter Q, that will quit the currently running application. And again, it turns us to the Finder. And that is the only running application, as you can also see down here by the little glowing dash. So that's one pretty significant difference between OS X and Windows. Is the way you go about quitting applications, and the fact that the menu bar is persistent and it dynamically changes based on the application that is currently running. On the right side of the menu bar, we're going to stick with the menu bar, we have, this is kind of like on Windows where the clock is in the lower right hand corner. In this case, it's on the upper right hand corner. It has icons in here, and this one's grayed out, but this is for what Apple's Time Machine, they call Time Machine, which is their built-in file backup utility. Right now it's not configured, that's why it's grayed out. You also have the option for volume, up and down, or mute. You have the time preferences. You can view as analog, view as digital. It just changes the display of the clock. You have the fast switching user bar. So in this case, it's if you have more than one person using your machine, you can quickly switch without having to go through log out, then log in. This just presents you with a login window. You log in, and it switches right over to that user, and then you can switch back. You have what Apple calls Spotlight, which is this magnifying glass. And this is really, really useful. This is a whole system search, and it will search for anything as you type it. So if I wanted to launch messages, say, okay, I just start typing MESS, and the top hit, as you see, is messages. Okay, and it shows the top application is messages. Any documents that have message in it, and there's a document that's got floating message.saver. I believe that's one of the screensaver files on the computer. PDF documents that have anything to do with messages in it. You can look up what I've just typed in there and get a dictionary description. Or you can do web searches or search Wikipedia. It's very handy I use this all the time for launching applications that I don't have pinned to my dock. I'll just, and there's a keyboard shortcut sequence, and it's Command Spacebar by default. if you hit Command and the space bar at the same time, it will bring up the search window, and you can just start typing, and you can get photo booth. You can get into system preferences, specific system preferences from here. It's just very, very handy. I use it all the time. And we'll go into probably another quick video on that at another time. This here is specific to Mountain Lion. This is Notification Center. Right now I have none, but you would click this or use mouse gestures or trackpad gestures to access it. Basically, this is where they are integrating features from iOS into the desktop operating system. So they have a notification center on the phone and on the pad that pops up little banners and such when you get new messages or new something from Facebook or something from Twitter or new emails. They pop up there, and this is where you can go to actually see them all. You open this up and you'll see, all the mail messages, the last 5 mail messages you received, the last 5 Facebook notifications you received, any calendar events that may pop up. They'll all be listed here, and you can quickly access them. So that is the menu bar at the top. The big empty space that we're showing the picture of the Galaxy on, that is the desktop. It's the same pretty much as a Windows machine. You can change the background on it, and there's other things you can do, and I'll go into those in another video. But just suffice it to say, you can certainly put shortcuts to applications or to files or to folders on the desktop. I would recommend against putting actual files and actual folders in the desktop. I would stick to shortcuts only, because the more physical files that you put on the desktop, especially if they start getting large, pictures and video or one thing, folders with a lot of content, if they're physically on the desktop and it's not just a shortcut pointer to it, every time you log in, it will start taking a longer and longer and longer time for the desktop to show up, because it has to load all of that information before it presents you with the desktop. So I would stick to shortcuts, and I wouldn't actually put files and folders directly on the desktop. As I said before, down here is the dock. This is the quick launch bar, if you will, for applications. You can even put files in here or folders. We'll go down real quick some of the default things that Apple puts on their dock right out of the box. This is Launchpad, and anyone familiar with iOS, iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, this will look similar to that, to the home screens on those devices. If we go into it, you can see it looks just like the home screen on an iPad or an iPhone, really an iPad. So you can access any of your applications from here, launch them. That's why it's called Launchpad. There's many pages. You can put them into folders, such as this one. Again, you see all the items are in a folder just like on an iOS device. So that's Launchpad. Next to that is Mission Control. Mission Control, I'll demonstrate it in a minute, but I'm just going to describe what it is. If you have several applications open with multiple windows, your desktop can get quite cluttered pretty quickly. You won't be able to stay focused on one application. You'll be switching back and forth, and you may even lose windows in the clutter, as it were. This is one way to kind of centralize everything, give yourself an overview of what's running on the desktop in a little bit more organized fashion, so that you can pick out the proper window that you want to get to and find that window that you, quote, lost. I'll demonstrate that in a minute when we have some application windows open. This is Safari, which is their web browser. It's a very good web browser, pretty quick. And if you're using this, it will by default, and you have iOS devices or another Mac, it will by default sync all of your contacts, or rather your bookmarks, not contacts, with those other devices. So, if you have, as well as any open tabs you have. So if you have multiple tabs open for different websites, and I'll just demonstrate here, new tab, and let's go to we'll go to CNN.com. Apologize for the flickering. So we have multiple tabs open. We have one for Apple and one for CNN. Now if I walk away from my machine here and go get on my iPad or my iPhone, and I have iCloud set up to sync those open tabs and those bookmarks, I'll be able to go in and actually pick up right where I left off with any one of these tabs. It's pretty useful. I've actually started using it quite a bit myself. The next thing is Mail. We'll need a Mail account to set it up, so I'm not going to actually launch it right now. I'll go into it in more depth in another video. But that's the built-in Mail application, and again, right next to it is Contacts or an address book. That again, I'd need to set up an address book profile and have everything, some contacts in there in order to demonstrate it. Again, I will show that to you in another video. Calendar, same thing. I'd need to have an account set up to demonstrate that, but that is a built-in calendaring app. Reminders, just like it sounds, you can set reminders, and if you have an iOS device, you can set those reminders with what's called a geofence. So you can say, for instance, when I leave work, and it remind me to pick up milk. Okay, what that'll do is that'll set up a geofence around your location at work. And when you and your phone, of course, you have to bring your phone with you. When you and your phone leave work and break that geofence or cross that geofence, the reminder will alert you on your phone to pick up milk. Notes is exactly what it's saying. It sounds like it's just a generic note-taking application. Messages is the replacement for iChat. It's an instant messaging application which is intertwined and interleaved with text messaging on an iOS device. If you set this up, you can text message to other users of iOS devices who are signed up for iMessage on those devices, and you don't need to go through the cell company's website to send those text messages. FaceTime, which is a one-on-one video conferencing. Again, it's iOS to Mac or Mac to Mac specific. They don't have a Windows client. I don't imagine that they're going to come out with one, but you never know the way things go. But that's what that is. This is Photo Booth, which is it's just a photo taking application that Apple includes. It's a way to have some fun. I don't have a camera set up on this virtual machine right now, so I can't demonstrate that. But basically, there's a lot of visual effects that you can use with if you have a camera attached to your machine and to take pictures. They distort and things like that. It's used to take profile pictures for your account or for your Facebook page or for whatever. So that's Photo Booth. iTunes, which will be getting a major upgrade soon, a major redesign as well. That is their flagship media management and consumption application. If you're not familiar with it, I'll be putting videos up on iTunes probably after they do the redesign. They released the latest iTunes 11. I'm not going to do too much on the older versions since they're going to be totally redesigning it. Next to that is the App Store, which they introduced in OS 10.7 Lion. That is the new way for developers to get their applications to you. Apple also distributes a lot of their own software this way now. They no longer sell you a CD or a box. Everything is delivered, including OS upgrades at this point, are delivered directly through an internet download to through this App Store application. I'll go into great detail in the App Store, how to install apps, how to uninstall apps. You can still install applications downloaded from the third-party developers themselves, because a lot of them, not a lot, but some of them still don't go through the App Store process for several reasons. One, Apple is kind of strict as far as what they can and cannot do with their applications that are sold through the App Store, as well as Apple gets a little cut. So developers not willing to give Apple any money or do things that Apple may not approve of as far as how the application works or what it specifically does, may not put it through the App Store. This gear icon is System Preferences. This is where you go in and change your desktop, your wallpaper, your screensaver, your power options, add users, a lot of things. I'll be going into depth in that in another episode. This line here is a dividing line in the dock. It's kind of hard to see, and they could have probably done a better job of it, but basically it divides the stacks section from the application icon section of the dock. Stacks are quick access to documents and downloads, as well as the trash can, obviously, but you can add other folders here, such as applications, to give it more of that Windows Start menu feel. What it does is, if you have, like, for instance, documents here, I don't think there's anything in here. Yeah, there's nothing in my documents folder at the moment. I do have stuff in my downloads folder, though, so if you click on downloads, you'll see it springs up and shows you the shortcuts to those two documents that are in my downloads folder. Now you can change the look and feel of these real quickly. I'll show you. If you right click, or by default on the Mac they don't use the right click mechanism, you'll need to hold down the control key on your keyboard and click, and that will be a right click on a Mac. That can be changed in System Preferences, and I would highly recommend it. But if you right click or control click, you can go into the view, so you can display it as a stack, okay, which will just show you stacks of documents. The icon will change depending on what's the latest and greatest document in the folder. Or what I like to do, because it's less cluttered looking, is a folder view, and it turns it into a folder. And you can see it's a folder with a download icon in it, so it kind of is in Documents has a Documents icon in it. It's kind of self-explanatory. So now it springs up this way, which is kind of distracting. It's a neat little effect, but it's distracting. I don't like it. What I do is I right-click or control-click again, and I view content as either a grid or a list. I prefer grid, okay? And this is what it'll look like in the grid. A little more organized. So you can actually go to these documents here, and if, for instance, the iMovie document, if you just click it from here, now it opens up in preview. Okay, so we have a document open in preview. I'll also let's open notes, because I'm going to go back and demonstrate now real quick mission control. Okay, so now we have a couple of documents, a couple of windows open. We have preview, we have notes, we have Safari. Okay, and as you can tell, there's a little glowing bar at the bottom on each of them. So if you can imagine, if you had multiple windows open, even more than this, which I always do, this will get very cluttered very quickly. So how do you find where your window is that you want to get to? Well, if you do mission control, look what happens. Everything gets organized. You see Safari, you see notes, and you see preview. So you could have 4 Safari windows open, and they'll all get grouped together over here under Safari. You can have multiple preview windows open, and they'll all get grouped together. Same with notes. So now if I want to pick something, I just click on it, and it brings it to the forefront. Again, when I'm done with these applications, I need to either go up to the menu bar for Safari and hit quit, or go, and you'll see it switch to Notes, the next available application that's open, or I do Command Q to quit the application that's running. And now you'll see the only thing left is Finder. Okay, so that's basically an overview of OS X Mountain Lion desktop. The major elements and a quick overview of them. Again, we're going to start putting some videos up there for OS X and going into in depth into a lot of these things, as well as showing new applications from third parties and how to do various things with the operating system, how to customize it to suit your needs and your tastes. As always, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, we can be reached at feedback@thetechnologycloset.com. And I will see you again with some more content, probably quite soon.